for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Claire Whitbread and I'm the chair of the Victorian Development Board. I've also had the privilege of being one of the Leadership Immersion facilitators for the last couple of years. I'm also an alumni and an investor in the work of the Hunger Project. And it's really exciting when I saw all the people's names on the registration list that I can say that we have people from every state. Oh, well, not every state because we haven't got anyone from Tasmania, but from WA, South Australia, New South Wales and Queensland. And we are just so incredibly thankful that you have joined us here tonight. Now, usually I was explaining to Anna and Andrew that usually these events are all face-to-face because that's the way we really like to connect as a community. But with this global pandemic, that really wasn't going to be possible. We too have had to try and adapt and change to this new normal. What hasn't changed though is our unwavering commitment to our vision, which is to create a world where every man, woman and child lives a life of dignity. And I know you can appreciate more than most that COVID-19 has really added an extra layer of complexity in us actually delivering on that vision. And already we have seen that it is having a detrimental impact on the communities in which we work, communities that were already incredibly vulnerable. Now, for some of you who are on a recent webinar with Rushi, who's the Senior Director of Programs, she said that this pandemic is quickly becoming a humanitarian disaster, as it is the sum of many sub-crises: a social crisis, an economic crisis, a gender crisis, a health crisis, an environmental crisis. But for us here in Australia, really that has not been our reality. And in fact, for the majority of us, COVID-19, as my friend described it, has been a beautiful, lovely pause. But for our village partners, that has definitely not been the case. They don't have access to a robust health system like we do. They don't receive benefits from their governments like JobSeeker and JobKeeper, which have kept many of us here in Australia afloat during this period. And they don't have access to technology where they can work safely from home. That is not their reality. The reality is that millions of people will actually push back into hunger and poverty due to COVID-19. In fact, many of them will lose their lives. The situation is absolutely dire. But I've got to say, after listening to the webinars, Rushi and Roland's over the last couple of months, as an investor in the Hunger Project work, I am incredibly heartened by what I've heard. You know, our village partners have responded so rapidly and decisively. They haven't waited to be told about what they need to do, how to respond, but they have taken it upon themselves to ask themselves a really powerful question: what can I do in this moment? And they have mobilised into immediate action as frontline workers. In fact, many of the time, they're the ones that have been the first responders. And they've implemented different strategies to make sure that they actually protect their communities. They really have embodied that leader's mindset that we talk about in the Hunger Project. And they've used the Hunger Project methodology in new and innovative ways to take responsibility and to deliver local solutions. So for me as an investor, that just really validates my continued commitment to the Hunger Project. Now, in the last edition of the Animator Collective newsletter, which I hope you all received, you would have read about some of the incredible achievements that our village partners have made in the last couple of months. So to recap, because I think they're worthy of mention, I'm going to read them to you. So today, over 3,000 tippy taps have been installed in communities, which means that people can access quite readily near their homes hand washing stations. 70,000 kilos of soap, 20,000 kilos of hand sanitizer have been distributed. 8,000 elected women and 3,600 adolescent girls have been trained by the Hunger Project to form what we call phone trees and WhatsApp groups. So, you know, one brings one and it goes snowballs from there, so that they can get information out to people who don't have access to what it really means, this COVID-19, and how can they really protect themselves. So really important to get out that information. 913 animators have been trained in water sanitation and hygiene best practice. And that program has been rolled out to 9,400 community members, so they know how to protect themselves from this virus. There's been sewing armies formed. Over 81,000 face masks have been made and distributed. 52,000 food parcels have also been distributed in India. And this was an idea identified by our elected women representatives as being necessary when they saw that some families hadn't even eaten in 5 days. Now, as we all know, the Hunger Project has a no handouts philosophy, but this idea was seen to be vital if they're going to stop people actually dying from starvation before they even caught this virus. You know, as Rushi said on her call, when you see someone drowning, you don't turn away, you respond. So I thought this was a fantastic initiative, that these women actually saw the need and they took it upon themselves to actually say, this is how we need to respond. 91 operational health units are in action, and our animators are mobilising people to get tested if they are showing signs. But as you can appreciate, that in most communities, there aren't even testing kits for all who need them. In Bangladesh, the animators there have actually gone and asked people to give food and cash, and they've distributed to over 175,000 people. So when you hear all of that, it is just remarkable what our village partners have created for their communities. And as THP animators, I want you to know you should feel incredibly proud of these achievements, because it's your partnership and your investment that has created this possibility. I also want to take this opportunity now, because I know there's a few people from head of office on this call, and I just want to thank THPA for their commitment during this time, because they too have also made sacrifices. You know, as you know, 81% of the money that we donate to the Hunger Project goes directly to our program countries. But already we have seen a reduced 30% reduction in our revenue. So, you know, our head office already runs on a really tight budget, but they were just like, there was no way they were not going to be able to fulfill our commitments to our program countries. So they decided to actually cut back their working hours to make sure they were running even on a tighter budget. So thank you to THPA, because as an investor, I know that when I give my money, you are managing it so incredibly well. So thank you very much to them. So on behalf of THPA, I just want to thank everybody here for your ongoing commitment to our work. More than ever, we need people to use their power to spark an end to global inequality, to end hunger and poverty. And we can all do that in big and small ways. We can do it with our actions, we can do it with our words, and we can certainly do it with the way we share our resources. So I have also enlisted, it's not all about me tonight, I have enlisted the help of a couple of my friends from my THP team. Siv, as many of you know, is a relationship manager, and I'm sure you've worked with her on your fundraising journey. She's going to be taking control of everything, all the technology tonight. So, you know, let's hope nothing goes wrong, Siv, because it's all on you. No pressure. Our session is going to be facilitated by Christine Kaur, who is on the national board. She's also on the Victorian board. She also is a facilitator of the Leadership Immersion program. She's a fellow alumni, and she's also an investor. I met Chris back in 2012 when we went to Uganda together. And I'd have to say, I probably heard Chris before I actually met Chris. And it was during the Being With exercise, which I'm sure you will all remember, is where you sit quietly opposite someone and you look into their eyes silently. For most of us, it's a deeply moving experience. It's a very soulful experience, except if you are Christine Call. Chris was so incredibly inappropriate. She laughed hysterically through the whole thing, out of control. But I quickly learned that Chris, along with that loud, raucous laughter, has an enormous, compassionate heart. She is a true animator who never fails to seize an opportunity to talk about the Hunger Project or lobby somebody for a donation. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Christine and take it away.
I think I was also crying that trip though. I cried a lot that trip.
Oh, you cried after that, but during the Being With exercise, you were totally inappropriate. But I love you.
It's so weird. so weird. But I'm used to it now. So for those people who I don't know, hi, I'm Chris, and yes, I do all of those things with the Hunger Project. And you know, I look back at 2012 and I really think about that was the beginning of a new beginning for me, which has been very exciting, and I'm still on the journey. So I want to welcome you all to our first national animator event, and I'm really excited that we are coming together as one and we're not separated by state, and I hope that we continue this on. I will be interviewing or chatting with Anna and Andrew Baird shortly, and we're going to be sharing some of our learnings from our last trip. We were the lucky ones to be on the Malawi trip in 2019. But before that, Siv just wants to do a quick poll, just to ask a question about where do we all come from, so that we know, what our last trip was, and how long what our experiences are. So pretty much we've got someone from every trip, looks like, from 2012 through to 2019. It's fantastic. Okay, so just while we're doing that, I just want to give you some updates on each of the countries. So with India, and Claire's given us some really great updates, but with India, what's happened is we've got another spike with 1,300 people seem to have contacted COVID over the last week or so. So really what they're trying to do is focus in on the basics. And as Claire said, we are not, we don't gift, but in times of need, you have to be agile, you have to change, and you have to, deliver what is needed. And so that's what we're trying to do in India. And we are, just providing the basics. In Bangladesh, they're actually in pretty good shape. So because of the way that we have, the vision, commitment, action, because we've got animators, we've actually got people working irrespective of the fact, because they're volunteers. So we're really lucky in the way that our process is around that community-led leadership and development. So they're doing okay versus a lot of the other NGOs there. In Uganda, the feedback from Daisy, our country manager there, was that, thank God that we were able to put some boreholes in our epicenter in Aruka, and without that, they would have been in a lot more trouble. So, your investment there, whether you specifically invested in that epicenter or whether you gave under restricted funds, has enabled us to do that sort of work. And in Malawi, the positive side is that we've got a better crop. The issue is because the markets are closed down, there's no way for them to sell or barter that stock, those crops. So what people are eating is they're filling themselves, but it's actually not as nutritious as they potentially need. So, I guess what I've been doing over this time, and, it has been difficult for us as business people and so forth, but just thinking about the basics around, well, at least I can eat, and at least I am getting nutrition, and at least I have healthcare. So that's where we sit at the moment. It looks like the majority of us have been to Malawi, or we're just louder. Okay. The next thing I want to ask you is, I think, Sibby, you're going to click to the next question. And that is, what 2 words would you use to describe your Hunger Project leadership program experience? So if you think back to when you went on that trip and when you came back from that trip, what were the 2 words that you would use to describe your experience? So eye-opening, seeing possibilities, humbling, uplifting, moving, transformational, mindset growth. I actually got caught the other day. My son said to me, "Mum, haven't you heard about a growth mindset? Don't you think you should be more positive?" And I thought, oh my God, he's listening to me too much. That was a bit annoying. Mind-blowing, moving, life-changing. So I think we've all felt that. And part of what we want to do today is remember back to those times, because it has been difficult. And I find that every time I go to a board meeting or I have an event with the Hunger Project, I come back feeling much more inspired, much more optimistic, and much more grateful for the world and what I have. So I hope you get a bit of that today. And we're starting by thinking about, you know, as we walked, we, you know, hopped off those planes and we walked back to our homes, you know, these are some of the feelings that we felt. So what I want to do is I want to introduce Anna and Andrew Baird to you. Now, Anna and Andrew got involved with the Hunger Project in 2019 and came on the trip with us in November last year. Now, Anna was originally a podiatrist, and if you actually know Anna or see Anna, is, you know, I sometimes look and think, oh, I can't imagine if she was my podiatrist, you know, because she's just so stylish, and that's how we got here. So Anna was, you know, working on people's feet, and she couldn't understand why, you know, people who had to have orthotics, and I'm one of those, had to have such ugly shoes. And so if you ever meet Anna, she's the most beautiful, stylish person. I mean, we're in Malawi and she looks gorgeous. And so that's what she's done. So that was in 2008, so 12 years ago. And since that time, Andrew and Anna worked together to create, you know, an incredible brand, incredibly not just functional, but gorgeous looking footwear. And I can attest to that because I have a number of pairs. They have now 3 stores in Melbourne. They've got stores in Sydney, and actually, you know, it's all about online as well. So that's one of their biggest channels. And they first started to support us. And, you know, the way Anna works is, oh, that sounds like a good idea. And very quickly she did a program and supported our epicenter in Ghana called Anaquanta. And then in 2019, they came along to Malawi. So today, what we want to do is just share the experiences that Anna and Andrew had. And hopefully with you guys, you'll remember too how you felt when you had your last trip. So welcome, Anna and Andrew. You off? Perfect. All right, so I just got some questions for you. But, you know, we'll start talking and then I'll start on script and then we'll go off script, right? So the first question is, you know, why did you actually choose to go to the Unlocked program last year?
Well, you were very convincing, Chris, so that's probably the main. But no, not really. I suppose originally we got involved with the Hunger Project because I met you, and I thought that you're an intelligent woman and you wouldn't put your time and money into something that didn't have good backbone, and you know, you would have done all the due diligence behind investing a lot of your time as well as your money in it. So I basically trusted that you were smart to get involved in the first place, and then decided that my customers would like to be, you know, seeing our brand give back to something, and my team. So it was really more a marketing thing than anything. So we did a percentage of sales for a month, and our team did really love it. We had some of the Cuba girls come and talk to the team. I actually wasn't there that day, but really they talked about their experience over in Africa. And the team was just really engaged. And I felt, you know, obviously it had been a good thing to do, but I couldn't speak with any passion. It really did feel like I didn't know what I was talking about. Yes, you know, Africa is a big place and they're really poor, and you know,
you know, that was, I couldn't speak with any sort of authority, and it felt very false until I actually, you know, saw what it was that the business was supporting, and what, you know, and even to be able to speak to our team, you know, about what we saw and why the Hunger Project is different. Because when there's lots of, everyone knows how many billions of dollars have been pumped into, certainly in Africa, and you know, they're still starving. So it's kind of, is it a waste of money? Is there better ways? Is it a white, you know, superiority? You know, we go in and we think that we're going to save them. And so I think that was to actually really go and see what, you know, how it worked and what was different about this organisation was why we went, and it totally met all, you know, everything we wanted to learn. We certainly did. And it was, I mean, there's lots of really familiar faces that are really cool to see back on here with Miles and Duncan and Greg and Jackie. We had such an awesome trip. So it was, yeah, I mean, life-changing, as all of you know, having been on one of these things. So yeah, that's why we went.
Andrew, can I ask, so when Anna comes home and says, hey, we're going to go to Malawi in 2019 on this, you know, in November, what were your thoughts?
Well, she said, I'm going to go to Malawi. I said, all right, well, I should go too. It sounds like a good thing to do. You know, we hadn't really, you know, we'd given a little bit of money through that collaboration that we'd done, that you spoke about earlier. But, you know, as a family unit, we hadn't done a lot of, you know, we hadn't been involved in any sort of, you know, giving other than, you know, going to the occasional lunch and, you know, buying a few raffle tickets and that sort of stuff. So we thought that this was a good one. And, you know, I hadn't met you, but, you know, certainly Anna, you know, trusted you and, you know, what you were doing and your involvement. So we said, well, if, you know, if we're actually going to be serious about it, then we should probably both go.
Fantastic. So, Anna, you said that, you know, it met your expectations. So when you came back from there, I mean, what were you expecting to see?
I had no idea, and I really didn't. I hadn't thought much about it before we go. I don't think I did any of the pre-reading, and really just landed. And then I got there and we started sitting in this circle and like workshop. And I was like, I didn't know we were doing any of that stuff. And if I had known, I probably wouldn't have signed up. Like, that is not my cup of tea. But it was like, I loved every minute of it. I mean, Miles and yourself did such an awesome job. But yeah, me standing around and talking about how I feel and lighting candles and holding hands is like the last thing I would ever think that I would enjoy doing. But yeah, I got personally so much out of it. Yeah, it was an awesome trip. Yeah, and as far as the actual, I think personally, I couldn't believe how much, you know, we gained as human beings out of the trip, which isn't really the reason, wasn't that why we went, but it was so incredibly well ran that we did make, you know, I think changes to our life after going through that program. So it was phenomenal. And then for the you know, obviously to have the stories about why we think the Hunger Project is, you know, the organisation that we really want to back, and we could speak to the, you know, the leverage that it brings and all the ins and outs of why we think this particular organisation that doesn't, you know, it's about empowering the individual, not, you know, handouts and all the rest of it, that we can actually really speak to. And it is the Hunger Project, you know, when you're in it, it was, you know, you hear VCA and changing mindsets, and it is a bit all pie in the sky, I think. Like, I don't know if there's another better way to do it, but from an outsider, it's very hard to sell that, like changing mindsets to save starving people. You know, now I understand what that means, but I didn't, you know, it didn't really resonate with me until I actually understood what that meant, and seeing someone standing in a village engaging human beings to change and think that it's, you know, up to them to do it, and if they put their hand up and come forward, they've got a chance of changing their life. So yeah, it was, you know, now I can speak, you know, wholeheartedly of why it works.
So was there one, I mean, it never is exactly one point, but was there a point where you went, oh my God, now I get it? Like, I know the first day, like you were like me with BWIC, it was like, what's that? Why do I have to hold someone's hand and look in their eyes? For God's sake, I don't ever do that to my husband. Why do I have to do that to this other person, right?
I think Duncan liked it as much as I did.
But so, you know, but at what point did you actually go, oh my God, I now get it? Was there a point that something clicked?
I think the first point was, I think we in that first day we were talking about beginner's eyes and seeing things, because I think you get there and you go, it seems like this easy, it feels like you just want to fix things, you know, and again, it's so naive and ridiculous to think that, you know, you land in a country, you know, but I remember thinking, how do we fix this? And it wasn't on the first day we went and we met one of the first village partners that we met, a couple called Sifu and Alina. And I remember we sort of sat outside their hut, and when I first met them and sat down, I thought this, you know, they looked like they had nothing. There was a hut behind them with a few animals, dirt. And I remember sitting down, and then they started telling their story, and they were so proud of their achievements. And they started talking that they had received the loan, this farming loan, and they started talking about how they turned their plot of land, you know, into however many, I mean, I can't remember the numbers, but, you know, the 15-fold what they were producing in maize off their little lot, and what they could buy as far as the chickens and the pigs and the goats. And all of a sudden, and then they spoke about how all their family had bikes, they were educating their children. I think, I can't remember, I did have it on the notes, but it was,
it was getting electricity.
But how many years into the Hunger Project were they?
I don't know. I can't remember.
They'd started in a grass house. Now they had a brick house. They were absolute leaders, and they were saying it's transformed their life. They were now telling everyone in their community to, you know, how to farm, how to use these loans. They were absolutely winning. They were really successful. They were leaders in their community. They were giving back, and they weren't finished. They wanted to extend their house. They wanted to buy a water pump. Like, they were not done. And they weren't, the Hunger Project given the leg up, but they ran with it. But I think when I sat down, I saw them as a poor couple, and when I left, I saw them as really, really wealthy. You know, I totally saw the value of the cow and the chicken, and, you know, the things that they could feed their family. And so I think that was, you know, reset as to what success looks like. And for the next generation, for them, you can see their children are going to be so much better off than, you know, other kids in that country. So yeah, I think that was my turning point, is that, you know, success is not living in a house that we would ever, you know, want to live in necessarily, but they were incredibly happy and proud and winning. So
I'm with you. I think you walk in going, what can I do, and what can I teach you, because I'm educated and I'm a business person and I'm really, you know, successful too. Oh my God, how much don't I know, and how much can I learn from you? I get it. So Andrew, what about you? Because I mean, we were together and I saw some changes, but what was the point for you?
Yeah, it was probably you know, it was probably sort of a three-stage journey for me. It was that first one that Anna's just talked about at Catching Tomato, and then a couple of days later we were at Sondole, and you know, we met Jessie, and, you know, she's, you know, young grandmother, and she, you know, she's really you know, on a path to taking her family out of poverty and feeding the family 3 times a day instead of 1, and educating the kids and buying a motorbike, and just, you know, really you know, a force of nature in terms of, you know, the improvements that she was making for herself and her family. And, you know, having, you know, so we sort of heard about, you know, the farm input scheme, and, you know, some of the other programs that the Hunger Project runs. And so really the penny started to drop about, for me, some of the economics, to go, you know, so how much, you know, a small amount of money can be leveraged, and, you know, just recycled over and over again. And, you know, those sort of micro finance loans, and, you know, and the farm input loan scheme, just, for me, it was, you know, that was a turning point for me in terms of understanding, you know, how the dollars are leveraged, as well as by that point, you know, we've seen for the second time, you know, presentations on all the other programs, you know, how the community were being educated. And then the sort of, you know, the final piece was at Majevi, watching the Vision, Commitment, Action, you know, workshop. Because we sort of went in reverse. We saw the ones that were closest to, you know, self-reliance, and finished with those that were at the start of their journey. And so really watching, you know, watching Grace, you know, in action there was, you know, it was phenomenal. And seeing, you know, I guess leadership being created at a grassroots level, and knowing that that's how the others had started. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Now I'm getting the move on, and I can talk forever. But my last question to both of you is, so given what you've seen and what happened, you've come back from Malawi, you had your learnings, and we're now going to COVID. What next for you? What changes did you actually make, or what insights did you get coming back, and what changes have you made in your life?
You want to answer that one?
Well, you go first.
You go first.
I reckon, like, coming back, just like the gratitude, and just like having a real appreciation for how lucky we are. And we always bang on about it to the kids, but being able to say that with true conviction for having seen how how many people around the world aren't as lucky as we are, and even through this whole COVID crisis, it gives you perspective. It gives you perspective that reading about it's not the same as being there and experiencing it. So I think that's perspective, and knowing that anyone can make a difference, and through through an organisation, it's got to be through the right channels. Like CHP is for us the right one, as it is for everyone here, and just that it doesn't have to be huge amounts of cash or effort, but a small amount goes a really long way. That's the other learning for me.
It does. And Anna, what about you?
I think it was probably, I think we're over there, that real obligation that we do have to, we are in a position that, in this country, and, us personally, but I think everyone that's lucky enough to be born in the country we're born into has an obligation to give back, because we're not born equal. Those kids that are born in that dirt with nothing don't have the same possibilities that we have. So I think that is, I think that's just the obligation, and I think obligation to try and encourage other people to give back, not necessarily to the Hunger Project, not necessarily to Africa, to India or whatever, but somehow, we are so lucky that we, to try and encourage others that there's, ways that, we can financially, a small amount of money in lots of different areas can make a big difference.
Perfect. Yeah, look, people ask me, why do I continue on? And I just, my one-liner now is because you can't unsee. Once you see, you can't unsee. And so until I stop seeing that, then I can't stop. So that's my thing. So what we want to do, so thank you very much. And I want you to stay involved. And if there's any questions, guys, that people have for Anna or Andrew, put them in the chat box and I can ask them later. But what we want to do is actually, we want to spend a few minutes to really get into breakout groups for a number of reasons. One, as entertaining as Andrew, Anna and I can be, I'm sure you don't want to listen to us for the whole 55 minutes. So what we want to do is break up into breakout groups. We want you to share your own experiences and remember back to when you were there and what you saw and what you learned. And then what I will ask you to do is I'm going to ask for people to, not going to pick anybody out, I'm not doing a workshop, but I'm going to ask people to volunteer if they want to share what their learnings or their rememberings are. And so Sib's going to manage that. But the first question is, one of the questions actually I asked Anna and Andrew, and that is, after your experience with the Hunger Project, after your trip, what changes did you notice in your own thinking and your own behaviour? Okay, we're all back? Okay, hello there, everyone. So I know that was a really quick 4 minutes, but it would be great to hear from everyone or some people from your groups to really get a sense of what are some of the things that you guys got from your leadership trip, and what are some of the examples of changes that you've made since coming back. Anybody want to volunteer? Or I am happy to sort of point a few fingers. Hello. Come on. All right, I'm going to
I will. I couldn't unmute myself.
Okay,
Brilliant.
cool.
Yeah, it was great to have it because I went to Malawi last year with the New Zealand team.
Yep.
A couple of things really stand out. One is I thought I knew more about the Hunger Project than I did. You know, I've been an investor for nearly 10 years, and I had no idea what I was talking about. And the courage of people, and they're just like me. They're just like me, and so I thought that was amazing. And then the other thing, when I came back, my view of consumerism has totally changed. Like, my husband and I have made some real changes to the way we run our house and what we spend our money on, and I just can't bear to overspend, which is great because a few weeks ago I lost my job, so I've been really prepared for this year. So yeah, it's amazing.
Fantastic. And when you stop spending too, you don't feel less.
No, not at all. In fact, I feel bigger.
Things to make ourselves feel better, and it's like,
yeah,
well, no, I'm not a worse person because I don't have, you know, new shoes or new. Well, no, you've got to buy new shoes. That's different. But new clothes, that's
yeah. Can mend things and make more with what I've got. Yeah, it's really changed the way that I look at money and what I do with it.
Fantastic. Thank you.
No worries.
Anybody else? Who else would like to share how they changed or what they've done since coming back? Anna. I can see it.
I think Rick wants to say something.
Oh, Rick, I can't see everybody. I'm going to put my...
Okay, I've unmuted myself. Okay, cool. Look, every time I've come back from a trip, there's been... I think the biggest thing is realising that extraordinary connection with other human beings. I mean, you know, that moment I got, they're all my children. And my relationship with my own kids changed. And my relationship to money at the level of, you know, I can spend my life accumulating stuff so that my kids will, you know, one day inherit something. Or I can use it all up now and make the biggest difference I can with every cent that I can generate. And I think that's really the biggest thing, is that realisation that in investing in the future of the planet through the Hunger Project, I actually get to impact on the lives of my children and grandchildren in ways that they may never directly understand, but it's hugely impactful. Yeah. And the other thing I've got is resilience. Like, you know, having gone through my own, you know, facing near bankruptcy only 3 years ago, and it's like, oh, you know, I've seen these people dealing with, you know, so much less than nothing I was imagining. And to be able to rebuild really based on that partnership, you know, having them inspire me as much as anything.
Yeah, and look, what I heard there, and it's what Andrew said as well, is about leverage. That what we're doing, you know, because of our model and because of the way we can amplify actually every cent, you know, whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's, you know, intellect and knowledge, we're able to leverage it for big benefit. There's not many businesses in the world that can have the cost structure that we have to get the impact that we get over such short periods of time. So, you know, that's fantastic. Anybody else? I mean, while you're all thinking, and I'm going to pick on one more person, but I'll share mine. I mean, people that know me know, but basically I came back from 2012 and I've literally changed everything except for my husband. So I changed where I worked, I changed who I worked with, I changed where we were going to live, I changed where the kids were going to school, I changed my business and my business partners, all except for one. I kept one of those. And, you know, I've been on a roller coaster ride since then, but I wouldn't change it for the world. And what the Hunger Project gave me was a sense of bravery and confidence, because I looked at those women and I thought they can walk with such pride and such honor and such purpose and such a vision for their future. And I'm sitting here with all that I've got thinking, poor me, it's so sad, I'm not making as much money as I should be, and I'm having to put up with this ding dong that I'm in partnership with because, you know, that's how I make money. And I just thought, no, that's not okay. And, you know, they gave me the courage to be the better person, the best person that I can be. or a better person. I'm not the best person I can be. I still got a lot way to go, but to be better. And I'll always be grateful for every single person I met in all of those villages for giving me that. Okay, come on, one more person before we go to the next one.
I'm happy to share if you like, Christine. So was able to go to Malawi a couple of years ago in 2018. I suppose twofold to answer the question. First piece is, you know, what behavior change? I don't know if I've changed behavior. Let's say I'm on the journey to changing behavior, because I think it's a hard one, is the classic one around mindset, and very much the I can't to I can type approach, and kind of moving away from a victim mindset to more of empowering yourself to do something. And I think, you know, this, as I said, it's something I think I did well when we came back, but then forgot about it. And I think, you know, the reconnection with Roland through one of these things a couple of weeks ago, but also this kind of COVID crisis, really easy to jump into that kind of like, woe is me, everything is hard, like, you know, got to deal with a kid and work's difficult and all this, and kind of disempowering yourself to kind of go, you know, everything's hard, I can't. And so trying to change a behavior, which is like, I can, or, you know, looking at the positive side and how do I move out of it. So it's kind of like the behavior change. But the one that really sticks with me is, I think I got to see true leadership on the trip, which was really built on empathy. And there was a really great line that stuck with me for the years, which Roland said after a VCA to an early stage kind of community, which was, you know, when we're asking him about leadership, he talked about leadership is not getting in front of people and asking them to come to you, but leadership is about standing behind and showing them that they can be better than themselves. And I'm like that's leadership to me, like wrapped up in a perfect quote. And I think, you know, saw that on the trip, and trying anything that we do around leadership, in our own leadership, personal, professional, what it is trying to show people that they're better versions of themselves, rather than telling them that they need to, you know, follow you, which I think was really, really powerful.
I've seen Roland speak so many times, and I haven't heard that, but that, I can imagine that coming out of his mouth, and I just got a bit of a shiver then. Fantastic. Okay, so unless anybody else wants to share, I'm going to go to the next question, and we're going to do the same thing. So have a few minutes, you know, in your breakout group and going through, you know, talking about this. So anybody else want to share? I'm going to go. No, okay. All right, so the next question is, how have you been drawing on your experience during this time of COVID and change? So Tim, you sort of answered that one, but for everyone else, you know, if you think back to what you learned, how have you drawn on that and used that emotion, those learnings, as we're struggling through COVID? So we'll go back into rooms, will be sort of 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll come back and do the same thing. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Perfect. So, okay, so who would like to, after your chat, who would like to share, you know, what are some of the experiences that you've been drawing on during this time? I've now got everyone in gallery view so I can see hands up. So hands up, or unmute yourself, either way. Is that Duncan with the hand up? I can see a hand. I can see a hand, Duncan. Or you're just trying to cover up something? All right.
I'm trying to find a way I can see everyone rather than having you all split over 3 screens.
Oh, right. I thought you were saying that you wanted to say something. No?
No, Chris. No, you know me better than that.
I know. I'm just trying to push you out of your comfort zone. Okay. Who else? Mel. Mel Sharp always has something to say. Mel, but for people that don't know, is a member of our youth board and is an amazing supporter of the Hunger Project, hosts our annual dinner each year, or has for the last few years, and has shown true leadership in the THP style by pivoting her business in, I think, was it a week or 2 weeks?
Yeah, 10 days.
Yeah, 10 days in the beginning of COVID. So a true representation of what the Hunger Project stands for.
Oh, thanks. That's lovely. But I think, yeah, like you said, resilience has certainly been, and what a few people have alluded to so far, that resilience and belief that we can really, you know, just use what we have to take the next step forwards and keep creating from there has been really paramount for me. And just that inspiration of seeing what, you know, women and men in countries have been able to achieve in their own lives, which is completely phenomenal. And, you know, really just gave me a lot of confidence in myself that I could just come up with answers and create things and just give things a try. And if they don't work, chuck it out, do something else, you know, figure it out in that way. And also, I guess, on a more personal level, that just keeping that importance of that true connection and, you know, with people through these times, but generally, and, you know, not having to be with all the time, you know, because I know everyone was uncomfortable with that, but really just, you know, I think we all felt that connection and that, you know, immediate, you know, acceptance and partnership and, you know, on that human level with everyone quite immediately, you know, all the villages and communities, and how much that really means to you as a person to feel that. So really taking that through in as much as possible in my engagements with other people as well. And I think that just really goes a long way in what we're all trying to achieve together.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to share? No? Sure? Going once, going twice? I think what's interesting around what we do is, you know, and you've all said it in different ways. The words that are coming up is resilience, it's gratefulness, it's being present, it's understanding that, you know, the other things, the outside things, our, you know, our money, our clothes, our titles, they don't define who we are. And I think most importantly, what true leadership comes from behind and assisting people to be the best that they can be, not look the best that they can look, but be the best that they can be. So, you know, I think one of the things that our model has also shown is that the role and the importance of animators. So our model, as you know, is we empower leaders and then they go out and they advocate. And what's happened is that because of our model, you know, things that we've been able to do is that, you know, we've been able to train animators who are going out to actually train people on COVID and hygiene and you know, telling about the water taps and so forth. And I guess that's what our role is as animators. And we, you know, specifically call ourselves animators because our role, to what Anna said, is to go out and talk to people as much as we can about what we do, not for the benefit of ourselves, but for the benefit of our village partners. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit more. So unless anybody's got anything else to add there, Claire, Siv, anything else? No. Okay. So I think one of the things that we wanted everyone to think about for ourselves is thinking about what resources we actually have. Because it's very easy at this time to think about what we don't have. And I think Tim said it, to think about victimhood. You know, what hasn't the government done? What's our employer doing to us, for us, or not doing for us? What are our clients doing? What about, you know, even our employees, you know, what are they doing? And what we want to look at is not what have we not got, but what do we have? What resources do we have to be able to share? And it's not always money. I mean, money is important, we know that, but what else do we have? And in some ways it can be our creativity, it can be our empathy, it can be our ear, it can be, you know, our social network. So there could be all sorts of things. So what I'd love people to think about now, and it may be to help the Hunger Project, or it may be just thinking about what resources do you have to get for your own situation, right? So what have you got in your hand now? What 3 things have you got to improve your situation? And if you want to think about that, either, you know, improve your current situation or improve perhaps the situation for the Hunger Project, can you think about that? And what I'd love you to do is put it in the chat of what do you think your resources are, and I'd love to share that with everyone, because I think sometimes we forget how much we actually have. So if we could just take a minute to do that, that would be great. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm starting to see, so Vanessa's created 10 modules on resilience, positive outlook, focus and storytelling. So that's her resources. So Vanessa, your resources are your intellectual property, you know, your experience, and you're able to share that to help people during this really difficult time. And you know, we all need that. My voice, my passion, my leadership, Rick's always sharing that. My community of people. So the question is, you know, what can we do with that community of people? How do we help them? But also, you know, how can we leverage? We've got social media networks in our communities. So, you know, what's important for us now is partly, you know, within this community, it's about helping each other, but it's also helping our wider Hunger Project community. As Claire outlined in the beginning, there's no doubt that COVID is going to set back our movement and our goal to achieve, you know, the end of world hunger by 2030, stepping back quite considerably. So I guess our question to you now is, you know, what are some of the things that you can do? And if, again, we know that money's tight, but, you know, if it's not money, what is it? So can you start sharing, for example, our program, which is Stay In, but Support Us. So what it's Stay In, Reach Out. So we've all changed the way we spend money. I mean, I'm not having coffees out, I'm not having lunches out. So are there things that we can do either personally, and I know we all give money, so I'm not necessarily asking you guys to give more, but what I am saying is, are there people in your network that you can encourage with our Stay In, Reach Out program? Because again, you know, if one of your friends or one of your colleagues can give us $50, and that can make a huge difference. Are there things that you can do with your work? Is there still workplace giving? You know, it's coming up to the end of financial year. Do businesses or individuals, do they want to support it? What can you do on your social network? Yes, social networks. The other thing is we still have a matching scenario. So anybody who does invest with us now, we get double the impact. We've got a gap of $40,000 to hit our goal of 300,000. We've got 7 days to hit 300,000, and as somebody said, nothing's impossible, even though it may be improbable, it's never impossible. So whether it's you, your networks, your businesses, or it could be anybody, you know, if anybody needs a good tax deduction and they want to double that even more, we would love to hear from you, because we've got a $40,000 gap there. One thing that I would love to encourage everyone to do, and see if I'm wondering if you would be, oh, Rick, you, mister, I mean, you're always gorgeous, but thank you very much. Rick has just invested $1,000 for tonight, so thank you very much. Well, that's $2,000, because what that means is that he gets matched, so thank you so much. Oh, another tingle. That's 2 tingles in a night. That's pretty good. Okay, so the other thing that we'd love you to do is, Steve, can you put up the slide there of all our brands? So we have incredible supporters as individuals, but also as businesses. And as you know, businesses are suffering. All businesses are suffering. And actually, there was one question, Anna and Andrew, which I want to question you. So sorry, so before I do that, here's all our list of supporters. So there's Bed Footwear, and I'm just going to put a shout out. The new THP runners have just come out at Bed Footwear, so please get online or go down to their stores and buy them. I've already ordered mine, and I've asked for them to be delivered ASAP, because I'm going out on Saturday night and I'm wearing them, because that's the new outerwear runners. We've got Hey Tiger.
We can get them to you, Chris, but they're not actually online yet, because I've got.
Sorry,
but I've got to wait, because we've got another collab thing that we're releasing next week, so they've been a little bit delayed, but they are in. So okay. you can have yours, and I think some of the THP people have got some. They're not on the screen now. Pardon? Oh,
I'm just sharing them on the screen now. This is it. They're so cool. I'm so excited. Hey Tiger chocolate that's been offline is now coming online. Brenda, I'm going to I want to introduce you shortly, but you know, Brenda was about to launch activewear, but you can see all our people there. So if you want to, you know, get involved with any of those, People Coach is my business. I do executive and career coaching. So any of those businesses there, if you want to, you know, subscribe to Business Chicks or buy a Dakuba top, I'm wearing my Dakuba top. You know, or any of that helps our partners, which helps the Hunger Project. But Andrew, one question that did come through was with COVID and with the impact on sales, and especially, you know, bricks and mortar stores, how have you been able to still prioritise your philanthropy and your investment in charities? And I know you assist not just the Hunger Project but others. So what's been your thought process and have you gone through that?
Well, I mean, luckily our business is we were 70% online before COVID hit, so we had stores shut, but the business actually kept trading okay. So, you know, it's not what it was, and certainly in the height of it, we dropped off significantly. But financially, we were still, you know, all right. And, you know, I think for us, the philanthropy, we personally, you know, can keep giving. So, and then the business now, it's the part, you know, and I think everyone wants to be able, it makes you feel better about buying a product. It actually is a good marketing tool to tie product in with something that is giving back to the community. If you're spending the same amount and a proportion of it is to go to help someone else, then why are you going to buy that product, I would think, over other products? So, you know, I think it's a no-brainer to keep tying our business in with the Hunger Project in particular. And we're about to, so we'll launch that sneaker in about probably 5 or 6 weeks. It should be now, but then also with our new website, we will at checkout have a donate to the Hunger Project button. So there'll be options to actually just, you know, we'll keep telling the story. So hopefully at checkout, if they add $2, $10, $100, depending on who they are and what they can give, that'll be will be a really interesting thing too, just to, you know, and obviously we'll just keep doing a Hunger Project shoe, but that little thing at the end will be interesting too, just to check out.
Fantastic, thank you. So yes, all right, so I'm an early adopter. I'm getting my shoes this week and everybody else can have them in 5 weeks. Brenda, can I introduce you, please? So Brenda and I met in Bali. So what we did is we ran a separate retreat. So Margie Worrell, Jacinta McDonald and myself ran one. And we ran this, actually Reignite Yourself retreat. And it was lucky because we got back just before the whole world closed down. And there, because we're creative people, Brenda just went, oh, I could do leggings and I could do activewear, and we went, oh yeah, you can. And now few months later, here we are. So do you want to talk about that and that collaboration? And also, Brenda, why do you do it? Because you're a brand new business. You're still in startup, and yet you're giving a percentage of everything that you make away. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so well, I started the legging business 3 years ago now. And I really started it initially because I'd done a program to lose weight, and I realized that there was a lot of really, really big girls that couldn't find anything to wear. So they wanted to lose weight, they wanted to look good still and feel good, and there wasn't anything. So I started that to just give back to those girls as well. And we started off our brand from a size 16 to a 38, and then the smaller girls came to us, so we now go from a 6 to a 38. Working in big corporates, I've never really enjoyed it, and I find it quite difficult. And because I felt like I always needed to give something back, I feel that I'm really, really fortunate, very, very lucky with everything that I've got, and so that's why I support a domestic violence house in Victoria. We give them pajamas because they look like they can be worn out. Do you know what I mean? Like they're kind of funky.
Like Asians do.
Like, yes, like Asians do. But just because, you know, there's other reasons behind that. But yeah, and then we donate to another Aboriginal house, which is also they do domestic violence for the Aboriginal women, but they also teach them now how to be leaders and how to get back into the workforce. So that was important to me, that they're doing something special for themselves. So I just feel like I'm lucky. I have everything that I need. You know, I think we talked about that at the thing. You know, I have enough. I am enough. And so for me, donating part of what I sell for certain designs is just something that I feel is a good thing to do. Like, I don't know, because, you know, I've had people come in and look at my business and say, especially my accountant, and say, you know, you could raise your prices and you could make, you know, you could make more money and get richer faster. But to me, it's not about that. It's about being able to make a difference. And you know, I just think that that's really important. And so that's when I heard about the Hunger Project and went on that trip, to me, it's just something that I just feel I want to be a part of. I want to be able to try and help make a difference. I love that they learn to look after themselves. I think, I'm not sure who spoke about the women that have to walk and walk for miles and miles and miles to have babies, you know. I just can't even imagine what that would be like, you know. And who did I have in my room? I think I had David was telling us a story about a lady she had no food to give her children for the night. So she was boiling stones in a pot of water. And I didn't get to ask him, what does she then do? Like, if there's no dinner, do they all just have hot water? So he's made me feel better that I'm going to do something to be able to try and make my small difference. And yeah, I think those sort of things, those stories are just so powerful. And we don't know, like, I don't know yet because I haven't had an opportunity to go.
Next year, Brenda.
I know, I can't wait. But
so can I ask when will the activewear be available?
So 30th of July we're launching. I'm not sure who they sent. Civ Tara, who's on the call? Civ's on the call.
Yeah, I'm on the call, yeah.
I'm not sure that we did invite. I know, Chris, you're going to model. So
yeah, I'm modeling. Yeah.
So we're going to do the photo shoot the weekend before the 30th of July. So anybody who's in Melbourne and wants to be involved, just reach out to Civ or Tara and let us know.
Or you can put yourself up on the chat box right now and throw yourself in to model.
Yeah. Perfect. And we'll also send links to everybody.
Always good in our photos.
That's right. Okay, so really, look, we've run over time. I'm really sorry about that, but you know, I think we got a bit excited having all of you here, and there's so much to share. I really want to thank Anna and Andrew for sharing their story and their journey with us, but also their generosity, their brand, their network, because they're doing a lot to advocate for the Hunger Project. I'd like to thank, and look, I'm just going to reiterate what Claire said about THP head office, our head office. I'm on the board. I work with Civ, you know, every day. And although the team did take a pay, you know, to reduce their hours, not like reduce their pay, supposedly to reduce their hours, not all of them did. So I think, you know, if you ever need them, that every single one of them are available to you. So the commitment that they show is quite incredible, and it is absolutely in line with our Hunger Project values. I'd love to ask you all to continue being who you are and advocate for us. So whether it's, you know, what can you do, both with your resources for yourself, but also, you know, in assistance for the Hunger Projects, or whether that's, you know, if you can spare a little bit extra for us now and help towards that matching, that's great. If you can share it with your businesses, if you can share it with your networks, that would be wonderful. And if you can go shopping and buy some shoes and some activewear, some chocolate, and maybe some coaching, that's also a really good thing. If you buy the chocolate, then you might use the activewear and you might need the runners as well. So it can really quite work there. We can make it work. So unless, is there anything else that anybody would like to say anything before we sign off? I know it's, late and I've talked too much, but if anyone would like to, who needs runners? Brenda? Perfect. We're doing a shoot, Anna, on the 26th. So maybe we can wear the Hunger Project runners as well.
Do you know, I buy bed because I'm an orthodontics person too. So
and you're in Melbourne too. We'll
yeah,
get you the link. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, get sneakers for the shoot.
Yeah,
the shoot. Yeah.
When she said they're online, I was going to go and look later and order them.
Have you got a photographer? You can use our photographer if you want.
Well, I was looking at this young guy who's starting out, but I'm open to.
Oh no, get Anna's photographer. She's fantastic.
Yeah. All right.
You guys connect online.
I'll get Siv to go through Siv. Yeah. Thank you.
So look, thank you so much for joining us. It's our first national animators event. Thank you for your time, and I might just hand over to Claire, our leader there and chair. Claire, you want to sign off? Thank you, everybody. Over and out.
I just want to say thanks, everyone, for your passion, for your comments tonight. It really helps us to understand a little bit more, although we do know that these leadership immersion trips are so powerful and they are life-defining. So thank you very much for coming on tonight.